Franz Wagner out indefinitely? Who's going to step up for the Magic? Franz Wagner was having an all-star year, and now he is out with a torn oblique. Crazy as this is the exact injury that Paolo has. And as we know, Paolo has not returned yet. When Paolo went down, a lot of us, including myself, thought it might be hard for them to stay afloat. Sure, there are plenty of talented young players on their team, but you're missing Paolo Banchero, who is clearly on his way also to be an all-star. So when you look at the Magic being the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, they definitely shocked me. They just went 3-1 in the NBA Cup, and they had a chance to win, potentially. I just made a video a few days ago talking about my all-star predictions, and I said Franz Wagner will get a vote, or will get a selection. And now, unfortunately, he won't because he's hurt. And this is just so sad because the Magic were having a breakout season, and now they lost their two best players to the same exact injury. Franz Wagner was averaging career highs, 24 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 5.7 assists. They are literally 16-9 without Paolo because he only played like 3 games. And while I was concerned when Paolo went out, how they would fare without him, I'm really concerned now that Franz Wagner is out. Sure, next man up as they say, but there comes a point where you lose your 2 best players. How much can you really do? And that's not to take away or discredit anybody on the team. They have a lot of talented young players, like I said, and I do like a lot of players on their team. If you watch this page, you know I did a video a while ago that I thought Wendell Carter Jr. was a very underrated player. He just quietly would get his double-doubles every single game, but he wouldn't get talked about. And then Jalen Suggs, I believe, is a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Like, Jalen Suggs has been that good. And I remember when he got the contract this summer, a lot of people were like, that's a big contract for Jalen Suggs. Well, he is owning up to that. And so I believe in the coaching in the Magic. They have a very good coach in Jamal Mosley. And I believe that the other players will step up in their way. But again, there's only so much you can do when you lose your 2 best players. And 2 who were literally about to be all-stars. It also depends on when Paolo's coming back. Again, there was a report that he might be back soon, but when you tear something, and I said this when the Paolo injury happened, anything that you tear could take a really long time. Because Paolo is so young and his future is so bright and he is the face of the franchise for the Magic, there's no reason to rush him back. Because this team, again, having a breakout season, but is anybody selecting them as the clear-cut favorite to win the NBA Finals? And is this their only chance to get to the NBA Finals? No. So there's no reason for the Magic to push it and risk it if Paolo's not ready when there's not a 100% chance that you're coming out of the East. I mean, there's never a 100% chance, but by most people's standards, they're not even the 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying they are or they aren't, but if people were selecting who's going to come out of the East, people would probably pick Boston first. The Knicks would be up there. The Cavaliers, with the season they're having, would be up there. And then people would say, well, if the Sixers are healthy, if the Bucks are healthy, they have a chance as well. If you watch this page, my favorite phrase, you know I literally predicted before the season started that the Magic would have a breakout year. Like, I thought this team was nice. They were building a lot of good things. I thought Paolo put in the work this offseason. And even though it only lasted a couple of games because he got hurt, unfortunately, you could see the work he put in when he was dropping 50 points. So I am not shocked with how well the Magic have been playing this season. But now, again, it comes to a point where you have to make some tough decisions. And I don't want players to play when they're hurt. Like, if they're actually injured, I think that's, risking further injury. And I don't think that's smart. So I'm on the side of don't rush Paolo back. Like, let him get fully healthy. But if he's healthy soon and the Magic are still in the hunt, well, then Paolo can come back and maybe they can make some noise still. Depending on when Paolo comes back as well, will also determine when approximately we think Franz Wagner could come back because Paolo, again, went out pretty early in the season. So at this point, we're coming up on almost 2 months of Paolo being out. So if he comes back in January, let's say, that's 3 months. So 3 months from now for Franz Wagner would be January, February, March. That would be just in time for the playoffs. And then he'd have a few weeks to ramp up, play some NBA games again, get back in NBA shape, and then be ready for the playoffs. This is just, making fake projections here. I just want to say I also saw today something about potentially breaking up Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. I don't see how that makes any sense. People were comparing it to like the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum thing, and I don't think it's the same at all. First of all, I have not heard anybody call for these two to be broken up. So this was breaking news to me. However, I feel like this is completely different from the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown situation. Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero have not had as much experience as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown had together. These two have been in the league 2-3 years, and they're putting together an all-star season within that time. And I think they play perfectly alongside each other. I don't see them like having trouble playing with each other. The reason people called for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to be broken up was because they were making the playoffs every single year, which is very hard to do. And sure, they were getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They even made the NBA Finals once before they won this year. But every time they would end up losing, and unfortunately a lot of it would be from Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown because they just had some mishaps. Not to say it was all their fault, Brown and Tatum, when they lost in the playoffs and the finals, but there was a big portion of it that was due to them, and some of it had to do with the fact that it looked confusing at times when they would play together. As people like to say, sometimes with the Celtics with Brown and Tatum, it felt like my turn, your turn, except not in the good way. It felt like they were clashing at times. It felt like there was some redundancy, not in a good way as well. Like I said, they're very good players and they made it work and they made the NBA Finals and won the second time. But prior to that, it's not like they didn't have multiple opportunities to win. That's why people were calling for them to break up, because they kept getting stuck. And the two constants were Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And as the saying goes, if you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, it's insanity. So that's kind of the concept of why people called for them to break up, because they had so many opportunities, but they couldn't get it done. But now they got it done, so now it's not a question anymore. But calling for Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, again, I have not seen that until yesterday, but calling for those two to break up makes literally zero sense to me, and the Magic are not going to do that, and that is just a story that will blow away.